Just be aware. So, we are here. We are live again. What's going on? Welcome to the West Coast greatest voice. How you guys doing? How you feeling? Shout out to every single pair of ears that had nothing better to do on this weekend, on this lovely Saturday, than to watch me wax poetic about the failures of our economy. I'm joking. I'm not just going to talk about them. We'll talk about some other stuff too. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? How y'all feeling? Welcome to the West Coast greatest voice. I am JT. So, like always, we just broadcast with this podcast, whether you're listening to me on YouTube, whether you're listening to me on Spotify or SoundCloud, etc., etc. I want to respond to some of the comments we got on some of the topics we were covering earlier, earlier this week, rather. So, BART layoffs. BART layoff. To those of y'all who not from California, this is the Bay Area Rapid Transit. I made a video about this on Monday. Quite a few of y'all found the topic very interesting. A lot of people reached out behind closed doors and gave their input. For those who do not know, in the video, I essentially was saying that due to lack of funding, due to being in debt, Bay Area Rapid Transit System, which is a big part of, essentially it's almost like the Amtrak for the Bay Area, for lack of better terms. They are about $2.50 from going out of business. Newsom 2 years ago signed some funding to go into effect for them, but that is not helping because at this point right now, post-pandemic, post-COVID, a lot of businesses in the Bay Area are not doing as well as they used to do. And as it stands right now, BART is an example of that. The money that they make from passengers actually riding the damn train, that's only paying at best 25% of their operations cost. That's why they're in the situation they're in right now. Which is lets us know that high-speed light rail train thing that Newsom was talking about 7.5 summers ago, whenever it was, I don't think that's going to be a reality. Now, a young lady had reached out to me, which was what motivated this video, and I had talked to me and said, hey, probably 30 to 40% of the workforce at BART is going to get laid off in next year if we don't get an approval for the fiscal deficit by Newsom, right? And a lot of y'all hit me up behind closed doors. Shout out to, well, y'all go unnamed. One person hit me up. He shall go unnamed. He said, yes, BART is looking to let go of 40%. I am a BART employee for 10 years and things are not looking good. Much respect to that young man. Another individual hit me up and said, prefer to stay anonymous, but BART is planning to lay off 25% of workforce if 50-cent tax bill to aid and deficit isn't approved. Tax 26 to please vote yes on. So please vote yes on that bill. He was rude, as much respect to him. Thank you for hitting me up. That was the wrong one. Another person hit me up. Another individual hit me up and said, oh no, that's another comment, actually. That's another one. So anyway, I gotta get these. I gotta get these right. But who to get that one off of there? Well, how can I get that one off of there? Hold on. Technical difficulties. Okay, so anyway. So more of the story is, so that's what's going on. What ended up happening, this is what happened. Post-COVID-19, post the pandemic, the Bay Area has not necessarily recovered. A lot of the large-scale downtown areas, a lot of just the large-scale industries in San Francisco and San Jose, a lot of the workforce that would ride the BART train into the Bay Area has went remote or has moved or worked somewhere closer, just being for real. They haven't recovered the same passenger numbers at BART that they used to have before. Now, granted, to be fair, I've had certain people tell me that their passenger rates are going up almost to what it was before the pandemic. So I'm getting mixed reviews about that. To me, honestly, bro, this is just an example of how much of a blow COVID was, not only to California's economy, but as well as society. Nothing's been the same since COVID. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna reel you. I'm always night clubbing. I'm always at the club. Y'all always see me at the clubs, right? And just noticing how dead San Francisco and Oakland be on the average Friday and Saturday night when we all done got our paychecks. That's even weird to me, because when I was growing up, or at least when I got into my early 20s, You could go to San Francisco or San Jose or Oakland at any damn near any day of the week, and there'd be a party waiting for you. You could go at any time. Like just seeing how. By the way, the comments are up. So if you guys want to comment, let me know. I'll read you guys' comments as well too. Just seeing how dead the atmosphere there is shocking to me. The damage that it's kind of funny, right? It wasn't until after COVID, it wasn't until the era of COVID that the average person learned that the overwhelming majority of these private companies, be it BART, be it stores, be it the franchises, be it the Hobby Lobbies, it wasn't until COVID that we learned that the overwhelming majority of these businesses at the end of the day are living from paycheck to paycheck. From paycheck to paycheck, but on a large scale. Because Hobby Lobby, y'all remember Hobby Lobby? Hobby Lobby didn't last 2.5 damn summers after COVID, during COVID. It ain't last a summer. Hobby Lobby shut down. A lot of businesses shut down. And it just goes to show, like, to me, in a weird way, it just goes to show how unprepared the average American is for an emergency, but also just how unprepared businesses are. BART still hasn't recovered. COVID was basically 5 years ago now, or the key 5 to 6 years ago, and the Bay Area, they're still not recovering all the way, bro. Because we're just having this conversation about BART. I can have this about a plethora of conversations of a lot of industries, be it not a lot of businesses that have left San Francisco, that have left Oakland, and that have not recovered yet. They have the same crisis that they have there. Poverty is still an issue in certain areas. The fentanyl crisis is still big, which brings me back to my next point. I want to talk about this. One of the brothers, he reached out to me. I did a video talking about the fentanyl crisis in California. And let me get this point off before I show you read what he said. Essentially, what I was saying was, with the fentanyl crisis in America, a lot of people who don't do drugs, actually, let me put up a photo so y'all can know what I'm talking about. Just screws in the web real quick, Sorry, y'all. My pre-production could have been a lot better, but tis what tis. So, for those who do not know, the fentanyl crisis, particularly in California, is definitely messing us up. And I made a video talking about that. And I actually make that photo a little bit bigger. See if I can make that photo a little bit bigger, because I want that to be right there. There we go. So, there we go. So the fentanyl crisis is effing all of us up. It ain't just the Central Valley. It ain't just Modesto or Methdesto, as we so adorably like to call it. It's not just Manteca. It is not just Sacramento or San Francisco. It's everywhere. And I did a video talking about it. In the video, I expressed that a lot of people who do not do drugs, a lot of people who've never struggled with drug usage, a lot of us look at it probably from a disconnected perspective and be like, bro, who gives a fuck about these drug using, needle loving? Like, I don't care about them. I've never done no stuff like that. I have no urge to go out in the Tenderloin and sell my soul to get drugs. But the problem with fentanyl, and I'm having this conversation in terms of the overdoses with fentanyl, it's not just people who are going to Turk Street in San Francisco or going to the more undesirable corners of Modesto or Manteca to buy drugs. It's people who are simply buying weed, and they might mix fentanyl in with that weed. It's the simple things. So when we have that conversation, you have to understand we're talking about fentanyl overdoses or fentanyl deaths. A lot of people that overdosed on fentanyl or died from it didn't even know fentanyl was in what they was taking. Imagine you drinking a Gatorade Zero, you take 2 sips and die because you didn't know fentanyl was in the Gatorade Zero. That's a very extreme example. I don't know why I thought that'd be the best example to use in this scenario, but you get what I'm saying, when it comes to people on drugs, I've had to change my perspective and some of the rhetoric that I used to have around that because, I've never struggled with drug usage. I've never struggled with drug usage. I've never been addicted to drugs. I've never been into any of that. That's just never been my vibe. That's just not what I do for recreational purposes. That's not something I like to engage in, right? So it took a lot of self-education, talking to people that I work with, talking to people whose kids have passed away from fentanyl overdoses, just talking to people who have family members or friends who struggle with drug addiction in their family to understand, hey, this is a real issue. Shout out to my brother who hit me up and responded and said, bro, please forgive, he DM'd me. His identity shall go unnamed. And he said, bro, please forgive the intrusion. I just want to say thank you for speaking on the fentanyl. Lost my bro in April. Him and his chick had a bad batch of stepped on white girl. Thank you for bringing more awareness. And much respect to you, brother. Much respect to you. It's always love. And no, I think we need to, a lot of time in America, we will think just because an issue isn't an issue for us. And also a lot of the time, most squares, we can't speak to certain experiences, and most squares, a lot of the time for us, I'm just saying as a square, we can come off as holier than thou. We can come off as, hey, we're better than you because this particular issue has never been an issue for us. But reality is, just because it's not an issue for you doesn't mean that it's an issue for a lot more other people. My dad used to always tell me this about me in the street. My dad used to always say, hey, son, at the end of the day, not everybody is as smart as you. Not saying I'm smart. I got a damn GED. I'm not smart, but not everybody is as smart as you. Not everybody's as smart as you. Not everybody's going to say no to gangs like you did. Not everybody's going to say, hey, I don't want to walk down that street like you did. Not everybody's going to say, hey, no to snorting cocaine. And not everybody's going to do that. And you can't fault certain people for not being strong in those certain aspects of their life because you weren't strong in certain aspects of life, which we will touch on later. I think with Americans, one thing I wish we did is I wish we had better understanding of one another. I think a lot of the times when we talk about these issues, be it drug addiction, be it alcohol addiction, even homeless issue, a lot of us are coming from the perspective of, hey, I had to struggle, get out in the mud and work 4 or 5 jobs to get the apartment that I got right now. I don't want to hear the bullshit and complaints of those who ain't doing nothing and just want to hand out from the government. And I get that. But also, I will say that if you're speaking from the perspective of somebody that's never struggled with that, you never had that monkey on your back. And I have to have that conversation. I had to understand that. I've never had that monkey in my back. I've never struggled with these problems. It's never been an issue. So I don't know. It's like dieting. Honestly, like dieting. This is a very extreme example. As a former fatty, as a nigga who's instilled an internal fat boy, it can be hard for you to understand that all you have to do is put the fork down or just monitor better what you eat. Instead of eating fried chicken, eat baked chicken. Instead of eating a bag of potato chips, eat 2 potatoes. 2 potatoes will fill you up far more faster and far more easier than a whole bag of Doritos chips. And mind you, it'll be 1,400 calories less. But, some of us were emotional eaters. Some of us eat emotionally. Some of us have bad breakups. Some of us were $13,000 in student donors, just needed something to eat to get over it. Yeah, I'm joking. I'm doing so much, but you get what I'm saying, bro. Like, a lot of the times, bro, one of the biggest issues in America is it's like, particularly with the internet, we're like all in this room and all coming from our own different perspectives on life and just screaming our own POV at other people. We're not even trying to hear out what they have to say. We're not even trying to hear out what they have to say. We're not even trying to understand why would they come into this world with their POV? Why at this point in their life, as a 27, 28-year-old man with a family, why does he have this POV that's so different than mine? If that makes sense. I was talking to an individual the other day. He's from Corning, California. Shout out to Corning. And we were talking. I just was telling him about, hey, about, my perspective on things and life, et cetera, et cetera. And I told him, when I meet people who are from towns like yours, be it the Corning, be it the Ceres, be it the Sleep, these are all towns in California for those of y'all who don't live here. It's always so fascinating to me because I'm interested in hearing what in life made you come to whatever perspective that you have. Why do you think this way? Why do you have this certain view of things? Like, why? I'm just curious. It goes back to the whole point of why I even started this podcast, why I even started doing what I do, because I'm so fascinated with just human perspective, with human culture. And with that, I've had to learn to not shout and scream and stand on my soapbox and try to scream out my virtues and my values and how I'm so much better than other people to other people, because it comes off away. It come off away. And most people, they build a defense at being judged and not, they build a defensive wall of being judged. As in the Bible, it says, judge ye yet less, yes, judge, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm trying to say. In terms of the drug issue in America, I don't know what you do about that. When it came to drug addiction, I used to have a very, very, I used to be like, at the end of the day, if you want to do drugs, that's your choice. And that's not to say that I'm just for open drug air markets in America. That's not to say that. That is not to say that I'm not for that. But I used to be kind of like, what's the big deal if that's what you want to do? But the problem is, just speaking from the perspective, if you happen to be in a political office or something like that, if you are running a country, at the end of the day, it is hard. It is hard at the end of the day to run a country, to have an environment where children are going to be as negatively affected or more, possibly more, by an open drug air market as adults, if that makes sense. So if you legalizing certain things that you just know are crazy, like, I learned this about being libertarian. Y'all know I'm a libertarian, ain't no secret. With libertarians, one of the key issues that we've always had in this country is we always present shit like shout out to libertarian. I'm gonna put this meme. For those who don't know, I'll put the photos up just to let you guys know what topics I'm talking about. Because a lot of time, y'all don't be having. If you're just logging in right now, I want it to be clear what I'm saying. Let me see if I can find the actual. Here we go. So, shout out to libertarians. So, hell, hold on. We'll skip that. So, moral of the story is, one of the biggest issues with libertarians is we operate from the standpoint, or those of us who voted, we operate from the standpoint of thinking everybody got common sense. Everybody ain't got no damn common sense. Everybody ain't got common sense. They don't. I have this epiphany thinking about the gun issue, which me and the individual from Corning, we were talking about that 2 days ago. Not yesterday. In my mind, in my heart of hearts, I would love for AK-47s to be completely legal. I would love that. I would love to live in a country where you can take an AK-40, where you can buy AK-47 legal. I would love that. The problem is we live in a country where, at the end of the day, not everybody is going to be responsible with their firearm as I might be. They're just not. They're just not going to be. Not everybody's going to be as responsible with their firearm as I'm going to be. It's just not the case. You're going to have some people who don't even know how to store the gun properly in their home. So they dumbass kid gonna get a hold of it and go to the school and shoot everybody. Yep, you're gonna have that. You're gonna have some people who gonna break into that person's home who did not steal the gun properly, go rob the local 7-Eleven or kick them right off the goddamn street. You're going to have that. You're going to have people who are in gangs and get a hold of these weapons. So I bring all this up because a lot of the times, those of us who are pro-gun, which I'm more pro weapon than pro gun. I love weapons. Like, y'all come to my apartment, I got my shit. Let me stop because I know Galt PD might be watching this. We have to meet in the middle ground on certain issues. We have to meet in the middle ground on certain things. Like, it goes with this whole Glock ban in California. And I might talk about that tomorrow with the whole Glock ban thing. I don't think Glocks should be banned in California because it is a basic handgun. Yes, the older models can be converted into a switch and et cetera, et cetera. I can promise you that you blocking Glocks is not going to hurt or dismay the average criminal who wasn't walking in the local gun store to get a gun to goddamn begin with. I just don't think it's going to make that much of it. That's just me. Maybe, I don't know, dang, as I said earlier, I have a GED, so I understand where my grasp of things might be a little bit slower than others, if that makes sense. When it comes to a conversation about, I'll say, about guns, you do need some regulation. When it comes to regulation about drugs, you do need some regulation. Most libertarians are anti-government just in nature, but the problem with that is humans' reality is need some form of government. You need some collective of the most rationally thinking people, and hopefully not bought out by lobbyists. Some of the most rational thinking people to come as a collective into a room together and make decisions for the larger. I'm sorry, that just is what it is. Humans, we prove that in mass we're all a bunch of retards. Just being honest with you. I want to talk about a conversation I had earlier this week, and it was quite controversial. Normal blacks dating street blacks. Let's talk about it. So this pissed off quite a few people. So I made a video, somewhat in jest, but I was making a good point. Some of it was true. And I was saying that I do not think that normal African Americans who work at T-Mobile, who work as engineers, who are civil engineers, who are deputy sheriffs, who are law enforcement, who are nurses, who are CNAs, who are goddamn elevator mechanics, whatever you can think of. I was saying, I do not think that those people should date street niggas. I just don't. I don't think that you should date a woman who only dates dudes who are in gangs, who sell drugs, or even has a baby by those who do that, because at the end of the day, you're not her type. You're not her type, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when I said that, some of y'all took heavy offense to that. One of y'all commented and said it was a funny shit. One of the commenters said, basically what he means is a house N-word should never date a field N-word. And to a certain degree, yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah, to a certain degree. When we have the conversation about classism, particularly amongst African Americans, black people, we're used to seeing ourselves how others see us to a certain extent as a large collective, which that means is most people, there are a lot of people, not most, there are a lot of people who do not consciously differentiate or even think that there's working class, middle class, high class, and street nigga blacks. There are a lot of people who, when they think of black people, they see black people as synonymous with poverty. There are a lot of politicians who, when they think of the black community and talking to the black community, they're thinking instinctively of talking to the poorest of us, the poorest of our communities. That's not to say that all blacks are doing bad, because there are a lot of black people that are doing good. I want to say it's a very shocking number of black people that only live in the ghetto. It's like maybe 50% or 40%. It's not as many as people as they make it seem, right? Bringing all this up because as black Americans, where we messed up is we let Democrats run with this narrative for years that we're all poor, that we're all the gangs, that we're all on Section 8, that we're all on EBT, that we're all... No, that's not the case. That's not the case. I got a lot of family, and I got a lot of people in my family who are doing quite well. Lawyers, doctors, nurses, entrepreneurs. There are a lot of people in my family who are doing well, and yes, they all happen to be of Negro descent, despite what my flags might make you think. Well, there are blacks in Brazil and Mexico. We could talk about that later. But like, so what ends up happening is we painted this broad brush of what the black experience is in America. And I just don't think it's that. I don't think that us having to cater to and act like the lowest common denominator speaks for all of black people. I just don't think it's a good idea. When I had that conversation about normal blacks versus street blacks, I was speaking from a wounded child's perspective as a nerd, as a reader of Harry Potter, as a reader of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I was speaking from that perspective because reality is, at the end of the day, when I was growing up, there was a negative view of intellectualism amongst black men. Now, granted, that might be based on the generation I come from. That might be from the area I grew up in. I grew up in a very rough areas at times. If there was a very negative view of any intellectualism, any sign of intelligence, it just was a very negative view against all of that, right? And I do think that that's an experience that a lot of black men, particularly in my age range, could speak to. And which is sad, because I think a lot of that is how we push ourselves to think of ourselves, be it with the music, be it with the movies. Those of y'all who were born in the 1990s, did we not get 247 different kinds of movies of where the basis of the film was Crip Blood, fights Crip Blood number 4, or how the homies gonna move out the hood, etc., etc. Did we not get damn near 247 of those same kind of films that played on BET regularly? So when you think of these things, one of the biggest issues I have is the championing and celebration of just street shit. Just championing street, just championing complete bullshit that doesn't go anywhere. I don't look down on street dudes. I don't. Because I have to speak that, because a lot of y'all got in the comments and was tight in the butt about that. A lot of people who follow my stuff, a lot of people who follow my page, a lot of them, they come from a certain walk of life. A lot of them are former street dudes or this, that, and the third. And I don't pass judgment on their life per se. I pass judgment when they make decisions that negatively affect kids, etc., etc. There was one guy, I wish I could put his message here, but I didn't have it loaded. We were talking, and he had said, you know, at the end of the day, you talk about street dudes, you talk about gang members like we're not humans, like we're not living beings. A lot of us can't help that we were put into situations, we were forced to live in situations where we didn't have resources and etc., etc. And I get that. I 100% get that. As a human being, I get that. I 100% get that. I just don't want what it is to be a man, what it is to be a stand-up individual. I don't want, when I have children, for it to be attached to you being a street. I don't want it to be attached to you, how many homies you smoked on, I don't want it to be attached to that. That's what I'm saying. There was a video I did after that one. It was called My Bully Just Got Out of Prison. And this was a true story. This happened actually fairly recently. There was a boy when I was growing up who used to put his whole foot in my ass. He put his whole Nike Air Force. He used to whoop me something smooth. You hear me? And he was a little bad bastard. I ain't gonna hold you. Those of y'all who from my hood, you know this nigga was on some shit. And consistently was in some shit. Up into his 20s and late 20s, this nigga was a bad little fucker. But I bring all this up to you because we cross paths because I do federal security. I'm a federal security officer. He happened to come to an office where I was contracted at. Just gotten out of jail, looked dingy, fucked up, clothes was raggedy, etc., etc. I look at him, I'm like, bruh. He's like, yeah, I was like, yeah, look. I was like, bro. So we talk, etc., etc., we do it, right? And I bring all this up because seeing this man who used to bully me, whoop me something fierce, all of that. And granted, back then I was a lot smaller. Like, back then he was taller than me. Now I'm like, oh, yeah, he was actually. Logan was taller than me. He was taller than me. Now I'm like half a foot taller than him. Probably got 100 pounds on him. I do security. I got a gun. I didn't have my little skirmishes, so I feel like I'm tough. But we're having this conversation, right? And when we're having this conversation, I didn't see somebody who bullied me. I just saw somebody who just was a man on hard times. He ain't got nowhere to stay. He just got out. And even he expressed to me, he's like, bro, you know, shit's woo right now. My daughters don't live with me, et cetera, et cetera. And when we were talking, one thing he told me that stuck out to me, he was like, bro, I wish I'd have taken a different path in life. I wish I'd have taken a square path in life. He was like, bro, I wish I'd have did to a certain extent what you're doing, bro. Like, you know, I just got out of jail. I'm not getting shit straight with whoop. You know, look where I'm at right now. It's sad. And it was funny because I would be lying to you if I didn't say that a hint of me when I saw him wanted to laugh and say, fuck, this is what you get from all those nights of you torturing, all those days of you torturing me. This is for all those times y'all jumped me, bullied me, called me a nerd, called me a white boy, this, that, and the third, right? Nah. You don't kick a man when he's down. You don't kick a man when he's down. Or really just have some kind of, at least just try to have some kind of empathy for him because he is down. And reality's experiences like that made me, right? Like experiences like that gave me the empathy that I have in life. Being bullied, having to fight people, like being a child amongst people who were not like me and having to cope with that. That's what made me who I am. That's what gave me the perspective on things. When I was having that conversation earlier about the normal blacks dating street blacks thing, I want to talk to y'all about something. Just interesting conversation, interesting thought. To those of y'all who are from certain kind of places, those of y'all who are from a certain kind of environments, be it the ghetto, be it the jets, would you be comfortable with your child sitting in a classroom with some of the individuals that you had to? Would you be comfortable with your child having to have fist fights or even have debates with some of the people that you had to? I am a pure nerd. I am full nerdy, et cetera, et cetera. I am a geek and all of that stuff, right? And when I think about some of the individuals that I was allowed to be in a classroom with, that I was allowed to have fights with, some of these individuals are in jail. Some of the individuals stabbed people allegedly. Some of them were stabbed. Some of them sold drugs. All of them were gang members. When I think about the fact that these individuals, there was a space for us to even have to share dorms together when I was in Job Corp, it says a lot. I'm not saying like about me, but more just says a lot about just society in general. Like, you know, maybe that's why that gives me, I guess, the attempt for understanding. Maybe it's why that also gives me the attempt to judge, because there's some part of me that wants to look down on those people and say, hey, bro, at the end of the day, you're a threat to society. But I can also speak to both experiences, you know, because a lot of those same people who were threats to society, if given the chance, like my father, you know, he had his past, but now my father's, I'm gonna shout out to my dad. I'm gonna show a photo of my dad right now. My dad right now, he's getting, shout out to my father. He done got multiple awards and stuff from the Senate. He's doing all this community activism, et cetera, et cetera. Hold on. Put this photo up of my dad. Hold on. There you go. Shout out to my dad. Shout out to my daddy. He's a whole community actor. My dad's a whole community activist now, and probably when he was shot to my dad from Sacktown Mardi Gras, and bringing all this up because if you just saw my father in his heyday, you probably never would have thought that. If you just saw him when he was growing up doing, this, that, and the third, you probably never would have thought that. So you probably would have never thought that'd have been a possibility, rather. So it's just something to think about. Beautiful people, this has been a great time talking to y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and log out of here. Shout out to those of y'all who listen to me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Kick, etc., etc. Please click subscribe. Please click follow. Do all of that. Follow me back here every single day between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Between 4